And is it happening? I think it is. I am live. The Nazarite, bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. It's nice. Coming towards the end of the week soon. Can't wait for Shabbos. And yet I can. Wednesday night. And I'm here. It's so lovely. I'm going to dive right in to last night's chat. Let's see. Hello, somebody who's here. Hi there. Hello. Okay, so continuing last night's chat. Okay, right, so there we are. Spooky asks, isn't Ruach HaKodesh always given female verbs in Tanakh? Yes. Yes, it is. Now, this is referring back what we were talking about. Well, I was trying to talk about Ruach HaKodesh and Shekhinah, where it ties into prophecy and the masculine feminine aspects. In the past night or two, I didn't feel as coherent, as I could be. I'm gonna try and have it be different this time around. So is it always given female verbs in Tanakh? I'm trying to remember because that idea of Ruach HaKodesh really takes on the idea of Ruach Adonai, right? Yod He Vav He. That's something that's more prevalent in Tanakh. Or maybe perhaps, well, the idea and that concept of Ruach HaKodesh is something which is elaborated more, if I'm not mistaken, in the oral Torah. Right? The Mishnah, Talmud, Midrashim, Chazal, our sages. So in connection with that, I'm not sure if Ruach HaKodesh as such is referenced. Ruach Kodesho, as I said, perhaps. But Ruach HaKodesh, I think it makes a later appearance. The types of prophecy that we have, of books of prophets, that's what the spirit of prophecy. That's associated with a different divine revelation. And there are grades and aspects there too. But that Ruach HaKodesh is like a lower form of prophecy, kind of touching closer, if you will, to the earth. It's a kind of wealth of information, if you will, pertaining to this world, more so, I believe. And the Spirit of God as Ruach Adonai, for instance, I'm trying to think of. No, let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. So Ruach Hakodesh is always given female verbs, but not as such in Tanakh. I think maybe I'm way off, but I think the burning element says Tiferet is Hashem's side of mercy. Right, mercy, where mercy is the middle pillar, harmony, beauty, truth. That's mercy, Rachamim. It's not mercy in the sense of something that is awakened inside of you, that it stirs inside of you as a reaction to something. And I give sometimes when I speak of this, sometimes I give the if you see, let's say, a three-legged kitten, or I don't know, something sort of helpless, or there's something that stirs emotion inside of you. I just gave the kitten thing as an example, but I don't exactly know why. It could just be a regular four-legged kitten, but something that stirs inside of you, sometimes countering something or as a result of something, there is something which stirs it. Mercy. You take mercy. It's something that it's a, it's a like, transactional element, I guess, not in a bad way, but, and that kind of mercy that's represented by Tiferet, the higher source of it, right? Tiferet is in the center, and the higher source of it, that's something where it's It's called rachamim. It's not din or chesed. It's rachamim. It's mercy. It's the middle pillar that runs right down the line. The burning element. Okay. So wait, Hashem. Technically, Hashem is everywhere, right? If everywhere is where there is a where, right? If it can be perceived, it's not God, and so it's a revelation of God. And so when you say Hashem is everywhere, and revelations of the Most High are also in the different names that sustain the world, as it were. And so, yeah, Hashem is everywhere. There is the idea that's in Pirkei Avot: know what is above you, an open eye and a watchful eye and an open ear, right? Or an ear which hears, and all of your deeds are written in a book. No, you could argue over the nature of the Mishnah and its context, but it's that idea of God being everywhere. Again, I don't know God. All I know is how God reveals Himself to me. That order which exists in the ten sefirot and in creation, order and chaos, and where I see it in my personal life, yes, Hashem is everywhere, but I ask myself, what are the names that I'm invoking, and what are the channels of energy that I'm, let's say, opening up or making more narrow with my actions, Hashem is everywhere, but it's all constantly being filtered and rendered, and we can be those who has images of God, as it were, right? To work along with that, to mirror that. Spooky says, whereas other lesser spirits, ghosts, are sometimes identified with male and female verbs, thus specifically identifying the Holy Spirit as female. Well, there are two sides to every coin, and there are the mirror, let's say, of the seven lower sfirot. The mirror of the seven lower sfirot becomes 10 sfirot of the other side, if I'm not mistaken. That's how that goes, because the three higher sfirot are all mercy, and while from binah judgment is stirred and awakened, it's not through there which it is carried out. Judgment. The first three, keter chokhmah binah, they have a kind of, it's 10 and it's always 10, but they have special status. And I'm pretty sure it's the seven lower sfirot which become the 10 sfirot of what's called the Sitra Achra. But I might be mistaken. I haven't studied those facets, right, of the Sitra Achra as well as other things. And I don't mean any kind of, I mean through Pardes Limonim, straight Ramak. Right, Rabbi Moshe Cordovero mentions them, goes in depth, into different depths in his book Pardes Limonim, and presumably in his other works that having to do with those halls, those chambers of the Sitra Achra of the other side. But yes, Hashem is not Hashem, Shekhinah and the Holy Spirit and that Ruach HaKodesh, it is specifically female, yes. I haven't found any male verbs associated with it yet. Okay, so Spooky. Wait, you know what? I'm gonna Spooky. If you're here or if you're watching later, or I'll look it up later. I may have been way off when I said that Ruach HaKodesh as such doesn't appear. Now I'm completely doubting myself when you say that you haven't found any yet that are male. So maybe I'm wrong. Could be. Spooky says, yes, Isaiah 45:7. He said that to the burning element. Burning, does your name reference to 2 Peter 3:10? And maybe he'll answer later. Ooh, pardon. Robert says to Jeeves and Eiler and the burning element, it's hard for me to comprehend God as feminine. It's always masculine. Okay, I hear that. It's hard to comprehend God. Well, I take that, easy road of it's not. I'm not able to comprehend God, but different revelations of God. So it's not as hard for me, I suppose, Robert. So Spooky gave a couple of verses there to Robert. Maybe he looked them up last night. Maybe he didn't. The burning element said to Robert, "Hashem is beyond our understanding. We can't grasp." Yeah, I'm right along with you in the introduction to the Tikkunei Zohar. Introductions, plural. Eliyahu says, "Antu chad vela b'chushban." You are one, but do not count. Are not among the counted. And there is no thought that can grasp what exactly that creator is. So let's see. He says, he continues. Oh no, I'm sorry. Jesus continued. Jesus continued and said, "I wouldn't know in how the theology would explain that, Robert. But if I were to believe in some kind of monad, of moand, of what? Some kind of, I'm not sure what that was supposed to be. Some kind of monad, in my opinion, neither." Wait, I'm completely mixing up that comment. Let me read it again. Hang on. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know in how the theology would explain that, Robert, he said. But if I were to believe in some kind of monad, in my opinion, neither. I'm not sure what he means. Robert also never knew the process of a woman who committed adultery in Torah with her having to drink the cursed water. That was interesting. Well, the cursing water. Not cursed yet. It's potentially cursed. The burning element said, "It's just something Hashem put in my hands. I hope you don't mind me asking." Was that okay? You know what? Seeing as this is last night's chat, I guess the flow was ruined. Sometimes I'm able to really go into it, and sometimes things go back too far. And I'm not going to waste your precious time right now scrolling and making the connections. Though I do want to continue reading. Let's see. Jesus said from Wikipedia, "Those few who are initiated in the secrets, a monad, of the Mandean religion are called Naswalia or Nazareans, meaning guardians or possessors of secret rights and knowledge." That's that's heavy. Um, to be initiated into the secrets. That's there's there's a lot there. I'll just leave it at that from Wikipedia. Those few who are initiated into the secrets. Now I know it speaks there of the Mandean religion or Mandaean, but just a quick word about Torah, about um, ongoing study, to be initiated into the secrets. We are in a constant, ideally, I suppose, we're in a constant sort of journey of discovery, which is a floofy way of saying we're always curious. I think it's about where we turn our attention to. There is something when we turn our attention to Torah, when we turn our attention to asking the bigger questions, even if it's on a smaller scale, on a daily. And that's in part what study stirs in me, asking myself, okay, and now what? Where am I in all this? Who am I? What am I here to do? Those larger questions keep on rolling. As I continue learning Torah, it's something which keeps on revealing itself. The depths have been likened to an ocean, right? Again, going back. No, let's not go there. Have likened it to an ocean, and in its depths and its potential destruction, it's like a force of nature. Torah sometimes is. to be initiated into the secrets. It's something that we bring upon ourselves. In certain religions, yes, you're brought into the secrets, right, and initiated, elders, priests, wise men, and women. For me, I see the Hebrew way as the secret that's in plain sight, just like it says right also in Pirkei Avot, in the Ethics of Our Fathers in the Mishnah, where it says that the Torah is lying in a corner, and anybody who wants to come and claim it can do so. It's there. It's there if you want to take it. And should we make that decision to take it, some more, some less, as circumstances may happen, right, and be. But if we want to have it be a part of our lives, like Moses says in this week's Torah portion, when you rise, when you sleep, when you're on the road, when you're in your home, to learn those verses this evening with my kids of this week's Torah portion. There's there's a wholesomeness there for me personally as a father. But I digress. To be initiated into the secrets, we decide what it is that is secret. We decide what it is that we would like to know. We decide what it is we would like to discover. So when I read those little, that phrase from Wikipedia, it just moved me because not because I think I'm a possessor of any secret or that I was initiated into secrets of a religion, but when I read those, it went back to me at my bar mitzvah. It went back to me being part of a religious household where, even though it was right orthodox to some degree and religion halacha, there was something there that I perceived, and I really knew that this is something I wanted to continue doing in some form or another. So I don't know if I've been initiated into any secrets, but I know that I feel that for me, this whole constant discovery and reevaluation, not revision, but reevaluation, right, of the faith and where I'm at within it. How much of it am I living? How much of it should I be living? How much of it am I not living and I should be living? To be initiated into the secrets, it's something that we choose. If it's few who are initiated, it means that they put in the effort, I would guess. It means that I don't know what it means in that religion, but I know that in the ways of the Torah, it's to keep going. Now, there is the very famous sage statement. I don't remember who said it, which one, that if you study for 5 years and you don't see a kind of blessing, right, and it's not fruitful, study something else. Something like that, right? We are always influenced by our surroundings and our past experiences and our sign or star, if you go that way, and if you let it to the degree that you want to let it influence you or in your life, being the product of the time and place that you're at. Some teachings will appeal to you more than others. Go with them. Sure, there's some basis you would ought to have, and that changes according to who you ask. But to go with your intuition and with with what you feel drawn to, that's you initiating yourself in the secrets because you're narrowing yourself down, and it opens up again. Jesus says, according to the Haran Gawaita or Gavaita, Nasorian Manadees fled Jerusalem before its fall in 70 CE due to persecution by a faction of Jews. How fitting. The word Nasruyalia may come from the root Neser, Nun Samech Resh, meaning to keep, since although they reject the Mosaic law, they consider themselves to be keepers of Gnosis. So, okay, I hear you. So they fled. They fled to. They fled where? Did he say? He didn't say. All right, that's really interesting, man. The Burning Element says, I feel, I feel, or I feel, I feel. I feel very blessed, he said, and humble. Hashem would allow me to have any knowledge at all. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. There's, in the album In the Aeroplane Over the Sea, Neutral Milk Hotel, Jeff Mangum sings, how strange it is to be anything at all. It is. It's a long, strange trip. And Jesus rounded it by saying, he doesn't come off like a know-it-all, now does he, guys? And I said later on, because they didn't save it, no, nothing. All I know is I know nothing. Again, constant rediscovering. Rabbi Nachman said that sometimes, right, you have to start every day anew, like from the beginning, and sometimes you need to start several times a day to keep going, to press the attack. Because if you're, right, was it a strong Y can bear any how? It's something like that. There are certain, let's say, transgressions, and I've mentioned this in the past. There are certain transgressions where in the past you would be put to death by this court or that court, right? And according to Torah, right here, I'm talking halakhically. Not many were put to death by the Sanhedrin, but according to tradition. But there were certain things where you crossed a line that's so detrimental, there's no going back from it. Nowadays, we don't have the court, we don't have the temple, we don't have the Sanhedrin, we don't have any of it, really. We have some remnants and some innovation, but we don't have that facet of the Hebrew court, you know, de facto. And so now, and I say this very cautiously but optimistically, the death that we go through now, it can happen symbolically. It can happen with certain mini deaths that we bring upon ourselves, times of transformation which can hurt. There's a great liberty in owning one's mistakes, even if it's only to yourself, but to not box it up, to be truthful, or at least not to bullshit yourself. I said that word, was it yesterday or the day before? And I was like, should I have said that? I don't cuss much, as you people know, but these these are things that I feel like, in me. And so this perhaps somewhat cruder language is making an appearance. Because it's things that I feel in me that need to be better. No, I don't want to come off like a know-it-all. I don't want to come off like anything. I'm just here doing my thing. All right, let's see. Robert Harrison says, Shalom Nazir, shalom to you. I'm going to guess yes, but are recreation drugs in Israel illegal? That is correct. They are illegal. They are in the process of being decriminalized, if I'm not mistaken, to a small degree. They have been, but there are no dispensaries other than for medical cannabis, which, from what I hear, is a prosperous business. So that's as far as I know, but I don't know much, about where it stands. I think you can still be busted for possession with intent to sell and go through that whole thing. But for for somebody's private use, I think that you're allowed to carry a gram or two. Who knows? I'm not sure. I know it's in the process of being decriminalized. Maybe that was already done and signed in. Who knows? Ay, ay, ay. Wait, so I'm going to close that other tab. I um, wanted to talk about something else in this week's Torah portion, but I won't right now. Oh, and look at that. Good timing. Mark the Nazarite. Hello. Look at that. It's good to see you again. I am on my second Nazarite journey. and started over because of coming in contact with dead. Always enjoy your broadcast. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. And Timangwa says, hi, Nazarite. Hello, hello to you. Do you have, any of you, Robert, Mark, Ariel, Timangwa, is there something you would want to discuss? Is there anything on your mind? Is there any verse or teaching or lack thereof? Anything that sort of, that you feel maybe hidden from you, that you would like to share? What's been on your mind? Do tell. I'm curious. I'm interested. Hey, dude, if you feel inclined to use the BS word again, you could just replace it with the Yiddish big slochen. Well, I don't know if I'll remember, but maybe I'll try to revert, or I haven't really done it. I'll try to go with BS. I feel that if look, I curse during sometimes. One of them is when I'm angry. But I would like to curb the times when I curse out of uh, emotions like that, because they mean to me that there's something negative there. Anger doesn't necessarily need to be negative. But something like that, where I attach that word there, and I'm not against cursing, and I listen to tons of people who curse. Cursing is a part of language, but I try to do it when it's appropriate. I don't want to water it down. I like my cursing to have significance, basically, in general. Big slochen. D. Mangwa says, do you believe that the Messiah will come? I believe that there are potential messiahs, even right now at this very moment, in different places in the world, perhaps. Potential people who might be anointed as king or queen, even though halachically there is no queen, but we know that there were a couple of queens. Shomtzion, Hileni. Well, Hileni was a Nazarite. Hileni Amalkak, the Queen Hileni. And Atalia, the mother of Achaziah in Kings, am I right? Was she a queen for a short time? I'm Yes, I think she was. So there have been queens, but it's basically the line of David through the males. So do I believe that the Messiah will come? I'm thinking there will be an anointed one. Whether it's the next Messiah or an eventual Messiah, I'm also of the opinion that we can go right across and transcend the idea of Messiah and connect with it on an individual and national level and a global level without necessarily there needing to be a physical anointed king of Israel who unifies and who goes to war, builds the temple, eradicates Amalek. Um, that whole thing is a means to an end. And I see the potential for arriving by different means to that end. I'm still sticking with the ways of my fathers and forefathers by and large. But I do understand that the Hebrew faith is one branch of a larger tree of life, and that there are different ways of connecting with the Most High. Do I believe the Messiah will come? I believe that we as humankind, as that image of God, can stir that inner Messiah within ourselves to be the type of people who would be worthy of being anointed themselves. Messiah doesn't have to come, we have to come. We have to arrive. But yes, there is the tradition, right, of David, of the monarchy, of different anointed priests and prophets and kings. So yes, I do believe the Messiah will come if we merit it. They're out there, the potential messiahs, and they're waiting for us to anoint them, to accept them, to crown them. And I don't know how it will go down, but I have a very distinct feeling that they are always there as that kingship, potential, right, kingship, that malchut. Whether it's Beit David or another tribe, Messiah does not need to be of the line of David, of the tribe of Judah. The final Messiah, the anointed one, the final one, as it were, which is supposed to usher in different things or be at the time of different things, that may or may not that is said to be of the line of David, of the tribe of Judah. Other messiahs and anointed kings existed from different tribes, more specifically, right? Yosef, Menashe, Ephraim, that whole thing. So I hope that answers. Wow, man, long-winded answers, huh? Whew. I hope that I'm making some sense, or sense. I hope that I'm like getting through, that I'm able to speak this night properly. Maybe, maybe. Numbers 6:19 says Robert. Numbers 6 was awesome. Also, my woman was reading Proverbs 25:17. Would love to get your opinion on that. Ask and you shall receive. Let's go with that. Love me, Shley. Yes, I do. So, Proverbs 25, verse 17, the JPS Tanakh says this: Let thy foot be seldom in thy neighbor's house, lest he be sated with thee and hate thee. Well, here's where it throws me immediately. Um, wait, is it? No, no, yes. There is the idea of the union of male and female, of the of Tiferet and Malchut, the lower, let's say, male and female. Their union, even at times of peace, even at times when the temple stood in Zion, not far from where I'm right now, even at those times, the union between Tiferet and Malchut, the divine and male, the divine male and divine female presence, masculine feminine presence, what's called Kudusha Brichu Ushchintei, the Holy One, blessed be He, and His presence and His Shekhinah. Even at times when everything was prosperous and well, spiritually and physically, their union comes and goes. Part of the reason why the union comes and goes is because they are what's called beloveds, meaning they part of the nature of their relationship, very Shakespearean, if you will, is that they are not always together. And there's a great yearning and a great longing to be together. That longing and that yearning does not exist in, let's say, the higher male and female union. Like I said, the top three sfirot are different, they have a different status. There's something else there. The lower male and female, like it says, right? The last, this is exemplified perfectly here. The last verse of Song of Songs, of Shir HaShirim, is Brach dodi udme lecha litzvio leofer ha'ayalim al harei b'samim. Run away, my beloved. Brach dodi. Go away until we meet again. Go, be like the gazelle, be like the tzvi, be like the deer, right? Run away until we meet again. So to be absent, right, and to be seldom in your neighbor's house, it helps there be a longing. It makes the relationship last longer in the great span of for a greater span of time. Because if you're there all the time, right, the um, well, let's see, the satiation becomes resentment and bitterness, and then, right, hatred. And that's the path to the dark side, as we know. You don't want to go there. You don't want to bring him there. You want your relationship with the neighbor to be one where he invites you in. You know he's doing it wholeheartedly. Not of any kind of obligation, not of any kind, because he really wants you to be there. And it's the kind of relationship where he knows he can say no, and it will be very, very cool. But you, as the person who is the guest, on your part, you need to be there seldom for the relationship to flourish overall. Let thy foot be seldom in thy neighbor's house. Now, let's think about it a different way. Could it be that this means that why is it that he becomes satiated, and then why is it that the neighbor is satiated and then hate? Because maybe he thinks that the guest is there for the wrong reasons. Maybe he's got an eye, maybe he's got his eye on his stuff. I don't know. You can start conjuring up all kinds of fantasies and different things on, when you have bitterness and when you have resentment stirring and churning inside you. It can lead you to all kinds of things. Satiation can become hatred. This is also in part why during the days of menstruation, of nida, the 7 days, there is a kind of separation. And one beautiful thing our sages said was, why did the Torah said that she should be unclean for a week? Right? Ritually unclean, ritually impure. So she will be so he will be fond of her as he was on the night of their nuptials, right? Of the wedding, when they were under the chuppah. And I can tell you, as somebody who's practiced this, well, all my married life, it has definitely helped to be seldom in your neighbor's house, to take some time off, to change perspective, to go somewhere else, right? You and the neighbor, go somewhere else. Go to get some takeout and sit down on a bench. Let's see. So that's my opinion on that. One where it threw me to, like, by association with Tiferet and Malchut, and one which was, I guess, more straightforward. I wonder if it was. Nah, never mind. Robert says, also, verse in Tanakh says too many friends will lead to ruin. Yeah, I think it depends on the kind of friendship, but too many cooks can spoil the broth. I think it might be something like that. Mark the Nazarite says, I have a question. So he asks, what is your opinion on the consequence of a Nazarite not keeping true to their vow? I have a friend who took the vow and gave up on it, and all of a sudden became extremely sick, going into ICU, intensive care unit. Damn! I wish him well. Him or her? Well, the consequence of a Nazarite not keeping true to their vow, I have no idea. Well, first of all, there's the practical halachic aspect of it, as it's brought down right through, let's say, the Rambam and Mishneh Torah, on the different punishments and the different quantities of grapes, of wine. For every hair that you knowingly and with due warning and caution, or being warned, after being warned, you plug out, that's another transgression in and of itself. For instance, because each one of those hairs represents a kind of divine channel of, a divine. So I don't know, and it certainly differs between Hebrew or Gentile in this case. Because if I'm speaking halachically, then halachically the vow of the Nazarite, the biblical one, doesn't apply. On the other hand, they're not. No, I don't think anywhere in the Torah or the Tanakh it says that if a Gentile, right, who's a God-fearing Gentile, takes a vow in all, what would be the right, in all honesty and in genuine good faith, and commits wholeheartedly, then that's a vow, and it might not fall under the halachot of the vows in the Mishneh Torah, for instance, or Shulchan Aruch, but it's between you and God. Let's put it that way. So my opinion is that the consequence will mirror the action, right? If we say that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction, right? If we're going to say that physically, spiritually and metaphysically, there is something of an echo of that there, or perhaps it's the other way around. But the Nazarite not keeping true to their vow, it depends entirely. It's a very personal vow, and so that's why I don't know the opinion. I would have to hear, right? You say that a friend who took the vow and gave up on it, and all of a sudden extremely sick. I really hope they get well, might live long and prosper, and go with God. And I hesitate to have an opinion because I know how personal this vow is. So I don't know. I have no opinion of the consequence. I have no opinion. Nor do I have an opinion of a Nazarite vow being broken as opposed to any other vow. I don't know. I don't know. So sorry. I don't have a real good, response because it's a very personal thing, so I don't know. Robert says, "My woman is reading a book on boundaries, and this verse was brought up. Melech Shlomo, I'm not that guy to be at my neighbor's house a lot, but love your take on it." Oh, okay. So the verse that was brought up. Boundaries. Yes, I see. Right. So, like I said, it's about being able to say no and knowing that that boundary is still within the bounds of friendship. Friendship supersedes it. That's what that causes. Does it mean you should never ever go there? No. But it means don't invite yourself over too often. And I guess count on your friend to be a good friend and invite yourself over once in a while if you think your friend needs to kind of pick me up and for it to come from you. Don't let that stop you. But yeah, be invited more than you are inviting yourself. But I said it depends on the kind of friendship. But it depends on the kind of friendship. But even as I said, with the most intimate friendship that I know, right, with me and my woman, so it doesn't turn to hatred. So it doesn't turn before that, right, to bitterness and anger and all that, or after the anger, whatever that nice pathological package is of emotions that are bubbling and that come out in fights, that come out in snide remarks, all that. Oh no, it's better to step back every now and then, for sure. A book on boundaries. Oh, this has been so much fun. I think if there's nothing else, I'm gonna say goodbye. This has been lovely. I don't know, what is it? You tell me. You tell me, guys. Am I, in the last 3 nights, am I being less, uh, articulate than usual? Am I being sloppy? Am I not finishing my points enough? Am I trailing off? Am I forgetting too much? I don't know why. For the past 3 nights, I'm feeling a bit off. Tonight, less. The last 2 nights, I was feeling a bit off. Maybe only in retrospect, or maybe I'm just judging this too harshly. This is part of the fun, people. This is part of the fun of going live. And I haven't said this in a while, so I'll say it now. If you have something to say, if you have something to teach, if you have something to share, if you have something to do, if there is something that you think you could do better than others, or you strive to do better than others, and you want to document the process, get your ass online, make some content, touch some people out there. You have your own experience, you have your own set of trials, tribulations, and joys and celebrations, and there's so much that you could be giving to give your gift to the world, right? As David Data says, in the way of the superior man, speaking of books and boundaries. So yeah, do your thing. Do your thing. I know not everyone's into the social media and the views, the likes, the subs, the pressure, the FOMO, or anything else, but I find so much. There's just so much substance here and engaging with you, right? For the first few months I was doing this, right? 4 years ago I was doing this solo, but it's grown and I'm so happy, right? And the channel was deleted, but I'm here and I'm so very happy to be doing this. Robert says, "I did have a revelation about the desert. I would love to hear it if you would, be able to share. Please do. Please do." Oh wait. Ah, see? And now I lost my train of thought because I wanted to read his comment. Robert says, "God showed me it was there to make you stronger and depend on Him. Everything you need in a desert comes from God." Right. On the one hand, it's a desert. On the other hand, they had those seven clouds of glory on an kavod. They had the ark that would travel in front of them, flattening the surfaces, leveling the different areas, and it would obviously go to war with them. The manna, the man from heaven, the slav from the sea, and dependent to literally when you're gonna pack up camp and go, with a pillar of smoke and a pillar of fire to guide your way day and night, staying at places or uncertain times. That nomadic life. It's a nomadic life there in the desert. And coupled with that is this Ark of the Covenant, is this tabernacle of divine revelation that is in your midst, that's being carried by your right by your brothers. The desert, it's a place where you can wander, a place where you can get lost, a place that you can it's a place where you need to lend an ear, a very careful ear, I think, as somebody who's been in the desert. Now, I'm sure that might apply to other places, but Hamidbar medaber. Midbar is the Hebrew word for desert, and medaber is speaks. The desert speaks. Same words exactly, different punctuation marks. The fact that Israel did not immediately go into the promised land, did not immediately reach Sinai, even after they left Egypt, even after the parting of the sea, they still had to travel, they still had to go, they still had to do stuff. And then after the spies to carry that burden for 38 more years, to arrive, right, as we are in this week's Torah portion, with Moses on his deathbed, pretty much, and you're still in that desert. And God says that he carried them on the wings of eagles. The eagle, right, is not afraid of any bird. He can be up there, do his thing, right? I think that's why it's wings of eagles, kanfei nesharim. That the eagle, or at least that's the metaphor. I forget if this is actually factual. The eagle carries its young on top of its wing and not underneath. The other birds carry it underneath, lest a bird of prey come and snatch it, right? Their youngling. I think that's what it is. And so that kanfei nesharim, that bird, that wings of an eagle that's referenced in the Torah, obviously it has like symbolic meaning, esoteric meaning, but in a very plain way, it means I took you out in a big way, right, with a strong hand, yad chazaka. And even then, where does God lead them? Into a desert, to that mountain. Again, to have boundaries for 3 days. We're speaking of boundaries, 3 days where you need to focus in order to get the Torah. You're right, you're the guys, the gals, stay away for 3 days. You got to focus. And that entire thing, that entire existence that was so nomadic but so miraculous, so like natural, right? Walking through the desert, but so unnatural in the sense of that for 40 years, as Moses says, you have lacked nothing. And if you read it, it seems that some parts, some facets, some groups of Israelites or others of the mixed multitude are lacking quite a bit. Always like looking back over their shoulder to Egypt. To go out into the desert and to depend on God. It can teach you great humility. That's for damn sure. I think that if you, well, look, humility can be found in anything. Like any trait, I suppose, if you're looking for it, if you want to adopt it, if you want to acquire it, and it can be something that you are going to be looking for actively more than other things, and so it will present itself, or the opportunities will present itself. So I just see the desert as a very humbling place, certainly in the eyes of right of the Torah, through the eyes of the Torah, through that lens of these verses. I was gonna say goodbye, but I want to keep going. But on the other hand, what is this nagging feeling that I have? Like I am not up to par the last few days. I can't shake it. I cannot shake it. What is it? I don't want to waste your time. Do you understand? I could be sitting here like in silence, trying to ponder something, but is it fair to you? It's well, going live. That's what we do. No edits, no edits. We go live. All right, let's see. Robert says there's no grocery stores. Just walk in. No, no malls for clothes. Just to conveniently get. It all comes from him through prayer and supplication and your faith. Uh, Wait, and your faith. Oh, and supplicate. And your faith is stronger, says Robert, from seeing your prayers get answered. Pretty quiet here tonight, he says. Yes, it is pretty quiet. But that's a very, very good. It's good to be quiet. I embrace the silence. I haven't, no, embrace the silence. Um, yes, prayer. Prayer is such a deep thing. I had so many videos in my old channel on prayer. I always bring up George Carlin. He started praying to Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci seemed like he could get stuff done. And their clothes. Israel never got old. Yes, that's right. Their shoes never worn out. All comes from him. That's correct. So it was natural in some ways, but unnatural in many, many ways. So, in this world, we might sometimes feel like it's a desert and full of dangers, pitfalls, a billion ways to die out there, right? But there's something that's guiding us if we will hearken to it, and there's a voice that's calling to us if we will listen to it in that desert. The wanderings of Israel in the desert is our wanderings in our own personal deserts. It's part of why our sages say in every generation a person must see himself as if he, well, right, exited Egypt. You need to see yourself. You need to part your seas. Have that faith. Leave Egypt. Go on. Go to your mountain. Get that Torah. For sure. Any halacha on life on the ocean? Yes, many of them, particularly to prayer times, right? Marine prayer times, and speaking of man and wife, the seafarers, right? Those who go out to sea, I think it's once a year. Is it once a year or once every 6 months? I might be mistaken with a different profession. Our sages lay out the different professions and what a husband is obligated, right? What in what ways is a husband obligated to his wife sexually? And they lay it out, right? These of this profession, it's expected to be this many times at home, with your woman, and have that intimacy. This profession longer, and that profession even longer, and the seagoers, right? The seafarers, the sailors, the pirates. I think it's once every 6 months, or maybe it's a year. So that's life on the ocean. I think of prayer, and um, I think of marital relations, and I think of food, perhaps, and the different fish. But that's not really life on the ocean, unless it was like a typo, and you don't mean life on the ocean, but in the ocean, or maybe that's the same thing. I know about kosher seafood, etc. Okay, so you know about that. Mark the Nazarite says, I lived in the desert for 2 months in the middle of nowhere, full of Joshua trees, and at night it was beautiful. That's lovely, man. And I'll always add in my 2 cents about the desert, which is it's where I had one of my first truly um, intimate experiences with God, with a very desert revelation of God, right? That spoke to me. I mean, the Bhagavad Gita, it captivated me. That voice in the desert. Now, to be clear, it was a voice stirring in me. It wasn't a voice I actually heard. The night times that I remember more, because that was daytime. The night times, as far as I'm concerned, and the days, are times in the army. I spent a lot of times in the desert, in the different, in the Israeli desert. Well, there's only one major one, right? The Negev. And I've seen some beautiful sights, some lovely animals, had some scares as the platoon medic. What bit you? What bit you? We don't want it to be that stupid thing. We want it to be that thing. Oh, good. It's not the stupid thing. Not the thing that can land you in the ER, like, at any rate. The desert is beautiful through, particularly the Milky Way in the desert, through night vision goggles. Military grade night vision goggles that I got to wear occasionally on guard duty and during training and stuff in the desert. The night vision goggles, you look up, it captures even the faintest of lights. To look up at that Milky Way just shining with that, what was it? Light green, light gray. I don't recall one of them or both of them, where you had the option. More gray, no, more green. Ugh, it's been a few years since I've had one of those night vision goggles. Okay, you're not wasting our time. Thank you. I appreciate that, Robert. I do. Robert says, the sea was angry in this chat, my friends, like an old man sending soup back in a deli. Suddenly, a great beast appeared before me. I tell you, it was 10 stories high if it was a foot. Okay. Ariel says, better to ride on the back of a rooster than on the wings of an eagle. Loads of compilation videos on YouTube of roosters more than holding their own in a conflict. The rooster, speaking of marital relations, the rooster is mentioned in different ways. One of the more famous ones is that our sages say if we didn't have the Torah, we would learn this personality trait or attribute from this animal and this from that animal. What we would learn from the rooster, if I'm not mistaken, it's the rooster, is that you appease your partner before mating with them. Now, I don't know, right? I don't know the actual how it goes down in the kingdom of nature. There might be some sort of a ritual, a physical display of some kind that goes on, or something subtle perhaps, that our sages saw. I haven't lived around chickens, and I haven't been around chickens or roosters, so I have no idea. But I know that it says this. I think it's Talmud, right? We would learn tzniut from the cat that covers its own leavings after it does its business, and we would learn to appease our woman. We would learn to appease our partner, to pacify them before anything intimate took place. And again, I'm not sure what the actual physical basis of that in animal behavior, but I know that that's what that is. So, roosters holding their own. Okay, sorry if I'm keeping you up. Oh my god, you're not keeping me up. I'm having so much fun here. And you can see, honestly, I usually don't doubt whether or not I'm wasting your time, and certainly I don't phrase it that way. But I just, I guess I needed to express that. Maybe for whatever reason, I feel I'm not up to par. So let's see. I am lagging behind a bit watching your stream. That's fine, man. That's all well and good. I'm so thankful, so grateful for each and every one of you out there, those watching now, those watching later. Mark the Nazarite says, I can't explain the feeling of complete darkness and seeing only Joshua trees. The stars all came out, and the moon was huge. I felt encompassed by God, and I thought of Israel a lot. That is lovely. In what capacity did you think of the land, the nation, the people, the tribes, the kingdom, the idea, the concept? In what way, or did it go in all different directions? And yeah, the desert can be really beautiful. I understand what you mean that it's like inexplicable. Never did it for 2 months. Although, well, not 2 straight months. No, I have. I definitely have. But the places that I had, like, for sometimes a couple of months at one stretch or just about, those are places where they were bases that were pretty huge, so the desert was less deserty, even though it was the climate and it was the topography and all that, right? Environmentally, it was the desert, but it wasn't that blackness, complete darkness desert. But I've known that desert too. Yes, I have. Yes, I have, and it stirs emotion in me even right now as I think back to it. Okay, let's see. Israeli desert. A lot is to be learned there. You could say that there's a lot to be learned from any desert, but yeah, the Negev, and maybe any desert, but I only know the Negev really. What a place! And oh, and the Judean desert, of course. The Judean desert, another. Although I spend more time in the Negev and less in the desert of Judea, but that is also quite a place. I haven't been there in such a long time. Such a long time. Too long. All right. See, and now I'm getting all back to thinking at sort of going in a good way into like days of or memories of days past. So I won't do that now because that would literally be wasting your time. Just going to end with a quick uh, prayer, I suppose. Adonai, help me, help us talk to each other, learn from each other, enlighten each other, help us and our little group navigate our own personal deserts. And may this be a place, right here, digitally, may this be a place where we will be able to recharge a little bit, maybe gain a little bit of perspective, even for a short time on this or that. Amen. Ay. Ariel says, are we only obligated to be intimate with our wives once every 6 months if our wives are on the boat also? Oh, I think not. Negative. No, no. It has to do with you being away and the Torah saying, the oral Torah saying, no, 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 you can't be away for as long as you want, or you can want it, but if you want to do right by your woman, know that when you signed that ketubah, when you sanctified her, when you gave her that, the object, when you gave her that certificate, right, when you basically separated her from all the rest to be your partner, that's something that comes along with it. And that is still part of the ketubah, of many, many ketubahs, right? Many marriage agreements that where they specify the fact that the groom is obligated to fulfill all of the needs of the bride, including needs of the bed. And the bed can mean, right, a place to sleep, but it can also be a place, right, of putting the bed to use. And of course, I am advocating going outside of the bed, but all in good time, right? Let's see. So yeah, if she's on the boat with you and you're not seasick, go for it. I mostly thought about how it would feel to actually be in the Israeli desert. How all the prophets of, I'm assuming it's old, must have felt, and how powerful of a connection you all must have in the Holy Land. Well, they say that Israel, the land of Israel, is separated from all the other lands, Jerusalem within Israel, right? The, let's say, old city within Jerusalem, and the place of the dwelling of the Temple Mount, and then in closer and closer to the ark it becomes. But still, even though I love the connection that Israeli connection, that Hebrew vibe, that for me is part and parcel of the land because I was born here, raised here, grew up here, from to a religious family, so it's baked right in. And while I did live abroad, the Torah there was different for me because I actively took on different ways of learning Torah, different people with which to learn Torah. But despite that, I'm still completely of the opinion that a connection to the Most High, of the most pristine levels, of great cleaving and clinging and closeness and mirroring of that divine image, I believe that can happen anytime, anywhere, any place, and it comes down to who you are and what you do, right? Not like what you are, but who you are and what you do. It's said that I don't remember who said it, but this is also from the Talmud. I don't remember who said. If somebody says, "Where is your God?" Our sages say. I don't remember who. If somebody says, "Where is your God?" tell him, "In the great city of Rome," or "In a great city in Rome." Not, let's say, the ruins of the Second Temple, not the Wailing Wall, not Jerusalem, not Israel. It's in a big city in Rome. Bikrach gadol sheberomi. In a great city in Rome. It comes down to what is it we choose to listen to, and what it is that we choose to do according to our actions, right? Is the divine revelation mirrored back to us? Now, we are creations, and we're part of nature here, and there's a chaotic element to it and an uncertain element to it. But there's also what we choose to make our calling, what calling we choose to answer. You can guide your own destiny when you place your faith in the Most High. Much like Israel still had a choice in their destiny and in their ongoings, even though they were guided with that pillar of smoke and with that pillar of of cloud and fire. Free will comes down to free will. That's all it comes down to. But I do feel a powerful connection. And it could be again that I'm just feeling something that I've been conditioned or taught to feel. It's all external. It's all a construct. But oh man, I am loving this construct. I'm loving it. I'm vibing with the Holy Land. I've studied in Jerusalem for many years. I studied in Tzfat for many years. Those places are just, and in any other place where I've studied, any other, let's say, the military bases that I've been on, which were not in Tzfat or Jerusalem, for months at a time. There's Torah of Eretz Yisrael. There's learning Torah in Eretz Yisrael, and there's learning the Torah of Eretz Yisrael. That's not necessarily the same thing. There's certainly a great quality, a sort of bountiful quality to this land. I believe you can also see this with the amount of produce that's exported, and you can also see it with, high tech that's exported, and you can also see it in the way that the spiritual life, while it can flourish undoubtedly, I think, anywhere, for the Hebrew man or woman, there's something about this land, there's something about it here. I certainly feel it. Hmm. All right. Robert says, "May we all get out of the desert and come into the land of milk and honey, but not forget the lesson the desert taught us." Little Andre, have you ever been into a desert in South Africa? So, little Andre, if you're listening to this, do reply. We'd love to hear it, or in a comment or in the next chat. Still believe God is masculine. I mean, we call him Abba. Yes, that's right. Abba is also the representation or one of the names of the Sphira called Chokhmah, the higher male. And right across from Chokhmah is Binah. They're represented in the two hemispheres of the brain, right, left and right. In charge of different things, corresponding with different processes, and there is, what is it? What is it called in the middle? There's a meeting point, right? Is it the cerebellum? No, no. It's the never mind. I don't know fancy schmancy anatomy, but I do know that there is a kind of bridge. That's also what's called da'at. And chokhmah is the male, right? The higher male, the father. Binah being the female, the feminine, the great mother. They each have and do their own thing, and their union in times when the lower masculine and feminine are united, they are too. And unlike that lower union, which has its time when they come together and times when they are apart, all, right, in order to stir up new emotion, new divine energy, new revelation, to elevate, to bring that tree of life that much closer to us, through yearning, through longing, through boundaries. The union of Abba and Ima, of Chokhmah and Binah, is ongoing. In that way, they are not so much beloveds, that's Tiferet and Malchut, right? They are more what's called Re'im, like friends that are together. Let's continue for a bit more. Let's continue for a bit more. Okay. Uh, Robert Harrison says, but females show an aspect of God. Yes, they do, right? Again, we all have that feminine, masculine inside of us. We choose to some degree what to give more presence to. And I'm talking about physical, I'm talking about character traits and personal traits. I'm not necessarily talking about presenting externally, though that undoubtedly that also plays a part. We inhabit both. How do we choose to manifest? How do we choose to keep a kind of balance? When do we consciously choose to uh, allow certain things to take precedence? And when do we do it in ways where it surprises us? It's good to have a fine mixture of both, which is why tiferet, right, which is like the human being, is a merging, a coming together of the left and the right. Let's see, Paula Harrison, or maybe it's Robert on her phone, but hi, Paula. I believe that God is a male, but I believe that he made male and female in his image. I believe both sexes show different aspects of his image and character. Well, no, it's her. Okay, well, perhaps you believe God is a male because you are actually a female. Perhaps in that way, it's the image of God being the completion of God, right? We say God is omnipresent, omniscient, and um, uh, oh, the words slip my mind. Anyway, knowing everything, being everywhere, right? Having that lack of limitations, and limitation is one thing that God lacks, right? That the divine revelation lacks, or not the revelation, but God. So in that way, there's a completion there. So I can understand why you say that. But to me, God is not male or female, but the revelation comes in male and female, and they both share a root. They both share the same root, right? That higher root. That's not left or right, yin or yang, male or female. It's that middle pillar that precedes it and from whence it comes. From which, from whence it comes, right? That divine influence that we call keter is completely like unknowable. And chokhmah is where revelation traditionally, classically begins. Because of that, the male and female, the duality is very, very strong. Because it's with duality that revelation begins, truly. Right? Chokhmah is likened to inspiration. Binah is likened to the action and the thought process that is taken uh, due to that, let's say, revelation or inspiration, right? Chokhmah is having like a thought. Bina is having a thought that comes from that thought and works with it. But Keter is like unknown. It's the place where inspiration comes from. Can you define it? Can you articulate it? No. You could say, yes, it's the psyche. You could say that could be, but it's still something that you cannot fully grasp. Something suddenly comes to you. It comes to you from somewhere. That's Chokhmah, and Keter is unknowable. Keter is that place where you can't even say that there is a revelation, but it is there nonetheless. That's Keter. So close to the Creator it is, if we're thinking in terms of this world and the way that we think of proximity and distance. Keter is so close that it's barely even counted. It's the tip of the Yod Hey Vav Hey. It's not even a letter. It's the tip of a letter. Chokhmah is where revelation begins, and Chokhmah is the great father, Abba, and Binah right across it, the next in the channeling of divine energy. Chokhmah, having taken in that revelation, that unknowableness of Keter into it, gives it now to the great mother, who inside of her, right, let's say becomes pregnant, giving birth to this more physical, lower male and female revelation, the kids. But I'm all about that place of singularity, even though it does not match this world. This world is dichotomous in many ways, right? And I'm not saying anything against that, and I'm not saying I'm above that. I'm saying that I understand why so many or Paula, so many Paula. I understand why you're saying that it's male. It's simply the beginning of revelation. In that sense, you're definitely right. The beginning of divine revelation has a male quality to it if we're speaking in terms of masculine and feminine. So I can understand why you say that you believe for that, but that he made male and female in his image. So I understand. I know what you mean. I do. So when Robert accuses me, she says, of being too sensitive, I can say that I am just showing that God is sensitive too. Well, yeah, you can say that. Very funny woman, he says to Paula. Ah, humor. Just speaking the truth, dear husband. Ah, married banter. One of the best things I think a marriage can have is a sense of humor. I'm seriously one of the best things a marriage can have. Can carry you through a lot, you know. Not much more to say, but other than that, it can carry you through so much. Ah, late again, because I'm not a wizard nor a Nazarite, says little Andre. Late again. No, no, you're not late. You're just on time. Oregon Freebird, hello. A conversation about the Adam soil creature actually was at creation. Both male and female, able to create life on its own, or neither male or female, something else entirely. Well, as you know, there are the two accounts of creation. One of them where it's Zachar u'Nekev Abraham, male and female, he created them, and one of them where it's Adam, and then Adam goes to sleep, and Chava is created from within Adam. Uh, Without tripping over my own words or being inarticulate enough, I'm just going to say that I spoke at the time of the duality and the duality, right? The male and female in the two stories of Genesis. Bereshit starts with Bet, which is two. There is there's duality here, even in the sense, right, that it's Elohim plural, and then Adonai also plural, because you see it one way but speak it another way, and that's already a duality. It's the entire account of creation is full of duality because the beginning revelations of creation from Chokhmah are already the dichotomy of masculine and feminine. So what the Adam actually was at creation, Adam, I think, Well, here we get into the physical, metaphysical, spiritual planes of existence. Are we talking, what plane of existence are we talking about? Actually physical? Are we talking about before well, obviously, we're talking about Eden, before eating of the fruit. So I have nothing to say about that. Here's what I have to say about that in a more concrete sense. I read those verses of the account of creation, both stories, as guidance, very personal guidance. Because, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, it can all be metaphor, it can all be myth, it can all be pulled out of thin air. It still has stuck around. It means that it has some meaning to be gleaned. It's a very ancient story, very ancient. Maybe there's something I can learn from it that pertains to me. It's the story of creation and humankind. Surely there's something that I can learn from it. So I don't know, depending on the spirit, depending on the plane of existence you're talking, whether it's the spiritual, metaphysical, physical. Are we talking about the first account or the second account? Are we talking about Elohim or Adonai Elohim? That all matters a great deal. So, someone else, please do jump in. What do you actually think Adam was? Was it flesh and blood as you and I? Before the fall? Before the fall? Because I don't think so. Part of that expulsion from Eden meant that there is still a body that we need to build up and eventually inhabit. That body of light, if you will, after we eat of the tree of life. Again. Or not again, not, after we're back in Eden again, and this time eat from the tree of life. Our sages say that because it's said that God made kutnot all, garments of leather, all is with an ayin. It sounds a lot like ol with an aleph, meaning light. And our sages say that the bodies that the original Adam and Chava had before they transgressed, before they missed the mark, before they were expelled, the bodies they had were like the substance of a fingernail. Now, again, this has actual physical sort of ramifications or meanings. It has esoteric meanings on what the fingernail is and that whole thing. But it was a different body. And now we have this body post Eden, or for a time until we go back. The body that we will end up with is something that's unknown to me. I think that it was a different plane of existence, that Eden. Something that was much like Moses on the top of Mount Sinai. That's a good example, I think. Like Moses on the top of Mount Sinai. Because on the one hand, he was in the middle of a desert that was part of this world. That still is. You went up to a mountain. A mountain is part of nature, right? Lots of people go up mountains every single day. And he was at the peak, at the summit of the mountain. But at that peak, at that summit of Mount Sinai, there he stayed, according to tradition, according to Torah, for 40 days and 40 nights. Twice or thrice he did this, depending on the interpretation of the verses. So it's something seemingly very ordinary. A mountain, a mountain in the middle of the desert. Okay? But what happens at the top is some weird ass stuff. Let's put it that way. Something that is anything but uh, ordinary, I guess, or that would be perceived as ordinary. It could be that Eden had its foundation in the physical world, where there were trees, and there were animals, and there were humans, and snakes. But the snake could talk, and we were unclothed and unashamed. and we were walking with God. And there was a great expectation. There was a great, I think, stirring for the coming of Shabbat. Or maybe they had no idea what was going on. Who knows? God didn't rest quite yet. The Shabbat never took place. So maybe it was something that was happening on a physical and higher plane. And then we simply fell, if you will, and that higher plane was sort of put under guard. We are trying here to build up and work towards that other body, that higher body, if you will, that fingernail body, that still conceptually exists there, or that we are now trying to build up as a way to earn it, right? Through our merit, not because we were simply created that way, but we earn that heavenly body now, right? That Edenic body. And with it, we will go into the Shabbat, and with it, we will partake of the tree of life. Oh man, I feel like I'm blathering. Why can't I shake it? It won't leave me be. Okay, let's see. I meant it would be a good discussion. Well, yes, it would be a good discussion. And I think I'm here just ranting away. I really hope I'm making it worth your while. I really hope that I'm speaking some good words here, you know? I've been going for almost an hour and a half. Oh, wow. Ariel says, do you think people become sailors just to escape the obligations to their wives? What if their wives are nymphomaniacs? Well, I don't know if in the most recent DSM nymphomania is still a disorder, but if their wives are nymphomaniacs and they married into that, then if they knew about it, then it's something that they carry together. If they didn't know about it, well, if they become sailors, that would keep them a good distance away from their wives. Now, I'm actually reading this again so you can see how late it is. I'm actually reading it again. So, because you mean it as a tongue in cheek. What if they want it all the time and so they just get away? Yes, the married with children situation. The Bundy situation. Shalom, Robert and all, says little Andre. Paula says thanks to little Andre. Also, Robert says to little Andre. Mom and Paula share the same maiden name. Yep, Paula and I are family. Oh, okay. Little Andre's mom and Paula. I see. Robert says Numbers verse 7-9. Also, Adam, flesh and blood, definitely. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. But maybe I'm saying it coincided, coexisted with a higher form of Adam. That's what I'm saying. That higher form, which would have elevated that physical world right along with him. But then Adam sort of fell off of that pedestal that he was on as the image of God, and now we need to earn it again, and now we need to climb back there again. And I don't think it's God messing with us. I think it's something that we as human beings on an individual level and a collective level, it's something we are going towards. I'm saying that very plainly, I'm not backing it up with anything. Numbers 7-9. You know what? I'm going to read that verse from the JPS Tanakh, and then I am going to say goodbye. And this has been so lovely. JPS Tanakh, Numbers 7, verse 9. Says the Torah, but unto the sons of Kehat he gave none, because the service of the holy things belongs unto them. They bore them upon their shoulder. Bakatef Yisau. Yes, it's true. Ay, ay, ay. I may not be always living up to the covenant of Levi, or the covenant of the Nazariteship, or the covenant of Abraham. But oh man, to know that I am trying to attach myself to a little bit of what those covenants are about fills me with confidence. And maybe I'm just an ass. Who knows? I'm gonna say goodbye. This has been lovely. Thank you for your time, your kind attention, your engagement, your subs, your views, uh, your comments. They mean a lot to me. I love it when in the middle of the day there's, a notification other than the obvious dopamine hit and ooh, someone is on the channel, someone said something. Other than that, uh, just like I said when I started this broadcast, or some point in the broadcast, I'm very thankful that when I sit down, and go live, that I get to do this and dive right into this to just do my thing here and have you be here with me. It's so humbling. It really is. It's fun to have this discourse. It's fun to take time out of my day to discuss Torah and ideas, of creation and Adam and our place in it, to discuss them digitally, but still discuss them like in earnest. And sometimes I'm stumped, and sometimes I trail off, yes, but I'm very, very grateful for this tiny little group that we have here. It fills me with a lot, it sustains me, it enriches my life, and I'm very thankful. And I think, as I said, that even if for some reason, it went back to zero and there was nothing, and I would be forsaken by everyone, and it would still be something I would do. I would get back up. I feel like I need to speak, even if it's not the best, even if it's not, ideal, be it the language itself, the topics, the way I'm delivering it. Who knows? Who knows? There's flaws and holes and insufficiencies and inadequacies in everything. But I'm trying to make a better choice here when I take time out of my day to do this, and I hope I'm making it worth your while, because you could be doing anything else, but you're here with me now, or or you're watching it later. I'm so very grateful, so very thankful for each and every one of you who gives me a chance to maybe kind of justify me getting on here and saying, "Hey, dig me." I want to be a better man. I want to be the best Jonathan that I can be. No more, no less. The best Jonathan Naftali that I can be. And I feel that this is in part something that's pushing me towards that better me. And you're a part of that, at least right now. And I'm so very thankful. Laila Tov. This has been great.